Hello friends, welcome to this special session where we are going to discuss how we can increase our scores in the grammar subsection of English, how we can improve our accuracy in the grammar subsection of English, and thereby affect our overall scores of English in a positive way, right? Okay, so let's see what are the issues that are normally faced in grammar related questions in the exams that you take. You see, in many exams that you are taking, grammar is a very significant component of the English language section, right? Now in there, for the past few days I have been receiving a lot of queries regarding how do we handle that particular subsection. Now, as you know, that grammar based questions means error spotting questions, error correction questions, sentence synthesis questions. These are some or the major kinds of grammar questions that comes in the exams. Now, in these in these kind of questions, a lot of students are facing some specific issues, and when I went through the kind of issues that you guys are facing, I saw a lot of commonness, right? And that's where I thought that we should be having a session like this, so that it helps you to plan in a better way with regards to the grammar subsection. Okay, right? So first I would share with all of you the issues that have been communicated to me, shared with me over a period of time regarding the issues that you are facing in the grammar subsection. So the first one amongst those issues is there any need of learning grammar? Now there are two ways to look at this issue. There were two types of people who put this question forward in post, whether it is in our Facebook group or in the YouTube comment section. One segment of students says, sir, I score on an average 50% in grammar without any rules or without knowing any rules consciously, right? Because I have been reading a lot, and from my past experiences, from my school life, I have a fair amount of control in grammar, and on the basis of that I answer grammar questions. So that is one set of or one segment of student who asks this question. The second segment of student who asks this question are those students who say that whatever I do in grammar, I am not going to score good in grammar at all. So what is the need of doing grammar, right? Okay, so these are the two kinds of students who come up with a question like this. Now I'll answer each one of these issues, but let me list first the issues. I just gave you an idea that who asked this, and obviously there is a third kind who asked this question on the basis that the exams that they are taking does not have a huge component of grammar as such in that particular exam. Okay, so the next query or next issue related to grammar that comes is how to mug up all rules of grammar, right? That's the second most asked query that we have seen. How to mug up all of these rules of grammar, the 1000, the 100, the 200 rules of grammar, right? Someone says 1000 rules of grammar, someone says 200 rules of grammar, someone says 500 rules of grammar. Everyone has his own way of quantifying the number of rules that are there in grammar. But how do we handle so many rules? How do we mug up so many rules? The third issue that students tend to face is, okay, I have understood those rules in isolation, but how do I apply those rules in the question? I have understood those rules in isolation, but how do I apply those rules? How do we know that this rule is going to be applied here and that rule is going to be applied there, right? So that is the third issue, a very important and a relevant issue. Fourth, how to improve accuracy in grammar. Now, you can say all of these discussion would also lead to that factor, that how do we improve accuracy in grammar. But here the question is more specific. that if I attempt 5 questions, I normally get 2 wrong and 3 correct, or 2 correct or 3 wrong. Second, there is another version to this issue, is that sir, पहली बार जो सोचा था वही सही हुआ, but then when I thought and then I marked it, then it went wrong, right? So the idea is that a lot of students face this, that there are 4 options or 5 options. They go through those options and through instinct, they feel that this is the correct one. But then they think a little more and then they mark the incorrect one, right? So at that point of time, they tend to think that how, when I thought at the first time that this should be the answer, I should have marked it. But I did not, and I ended up with wrong answer. So this also happens. And from that, another spin-off question is that whether we should use instinct to solve grammar question, or whether we should stop using instinct in grammar question. That's a spin-off of the 4th issue, right? So these were the major issue that the issues that were raised by some of you with me, with us in the forum, in the Facebook group, in the batches, also in the YouTube comment section. So we will address these. Plus, I am also going to add another thing from my end, is that what else would help in grammar. Okay, what you need to do in grammar is something that I would obviously tell you as a solution to these issues. Yes, but what else can help you in grammar so that your accuracy in grammar increases multifold is also that something that we would see. So we'll start one by one. Okay, the first is there any need for learning grammar? Now in this, I would say that in long run for everyone, grammar is important. So if you want to have an efficient professional communication skill, then grammar is important for you, for your whole life. But now coming to the short term goals, where you are trying for a competitive exam, and in that the number of questions is from the grammar based questions, that are error spotting, error correction, or the sentence synthesis questions, these kind of questions are less in numbers. So then can you take a miss on this? You can, but it's not advisable, but yes, you can. But there are hardly any exam where grammar is not a significant portion. For example, if you look at the SBI PO, IBPS PO exams, or the SSC CGL exams, or RBI grade B phase 1 exams, any exam, you can say that in the clerical exams, the level of the error spotting and the error correction questions are manageable, and therefore they can be done easily. But nevertheless, the number of questions there also are significant with respect to the English section, right? So you cannot really give it a miss. Yes, in some exams like CAT, ZAT, there are less number of grammar questions, MBA entrance exams. So if you want to give it a miss there, you might think it to be relevant for the first stage to give it a miss there, you can. But there also, when you go ahead into the later stages of the selection process, descriptive writing is there, where you'll have to write it without write an essay without making an error in grammar. So there you would not be able to write it without an error if you do not have the practice of writing it without an error. And at that point of time, grammar becomes important, right? So overall, if you look at need of learning grammar in short term, there, in long term, obviously there, right? So yes, there is a need of learning grammar. The next issue was how to mug up all these rules of grammar. So many rules, as I told you, that some people say there are 500 rules of grammar. Some people would say 1001 rules of grammar, 200 rules of grammar. How do we mug up so many rules? Now, my question to all of them who are asking me this question, that boss, why do you need to mug up so many rules? As a matter of fact, why do you need to mug up rules of grammar? You need to understand the concepts behind those rules. Yes, you need to know those rules so that you can apply them on questions. Yes, But senseless mugging up those rules of grammar would not make any difference in your English language skills. And my dear friends, these exams are testing on your verbal ability. They are not testing on your memory. They are testing on your ability to apply the rules that you know. Right? Okay. Now, how is it different? You might ask, how is it different? Knowing the rules, that means that you'll have to mug up the rules of the grammar. But here is the difference. If you have gone through the grammar playlist of mine, you would have noticed that obviously there are some basic concepts that we should be knowing about grammar, and we should be trying, but we always should be trying to take a background based on common sense from where those rules have come. In every case, it might not be possible because grammar is a construct of language, and in language there are many things that comes from usage, right? It has been used such and therefore it is there. So I definitely agree to that. But in many cases, logic would help you. Senseless mugging up of rules and trying to fit every case to some known case, you know, it's like assuming that we are robots, we are computers. We have an AI machinery in here which takes one rule, matches the question to all those rules that are there in our mind and fits it in one rule. Our mind does not work in that way. Human mind does not work in that way. We understand a thing, we understand the nuances of a particular concept and with respect to the context obviously, and then we improvise while we apply those concepts. So, you know, we are human beings. Rather than concentrating on the strength of us being human beings, we try to beat ourselves to become a machine. Machine is efficient in its own way. A human being cannot compete with a machine. So do not try to mug up 1,000 rules of grammar and then try to force fit your sentences in those rules and get answer. No, it is not going to work that way. Yes, for one or two people it might work that way. Maybe those who say that you should be doing that, they maybe are those people who can do it that way. But on an average, I have seen students not being able to do that. I myself have never been able to do that. What helped me rather was understanding the concept behind those questions. So those concepts, you know, the background of those concepts, why this is correct. If in either or, why we should have the singular and plural comes with the nearest one. That conceptual backing should be there in your mind. Obviously, you need to have an idea of those concepts, but then would you need to mug up all of them in a way so that you have all of them, 1,000 of them ready, reckoner in your mind? No, you don't need to do that. So don't try to mug all of them up. That does not mean you do not remember those concepts, but there are no 1,000 concepts, there are no 200 concepts. You saw in my playlist, right, in grammar playlist, there are 30 to 40 concepts that are there, but that is it. Remembering and understanding 30 to 40 concepts, main concepts, which is the foundation of English, is much easier than remembering 1,000 odd rules. Right? So if you have not gone through the playlist, go through it. It would help you to collect your thoughts, concentrate your energies in what is important and not deviate. Tick. Now, the next is how to apply those rules in questions. You went through the grammar playlist of Merit Shine, you got 40 concepts, right? You do not need to remember those 1,000 rules, that is clear to you now. But the 40 concepts, let's call them concepts rather than rules, so that you have an differentiator between them. But applying those would also be difficult, isn't it? Because you do not get to understand until and unless you have gone through many questions, read a lot, that this is the utility of this concept, right? There are two levels at which we learn. First, we understand a concept. When we understand a concept, we feel that, okay, I know this. It's understanding a concept is like knowing how to take a off drive, hit a non drive, hit a pull shot. In cricket, we have off drive, on drive, pull shot, hook shot. Knowing how to do that is the easy part. That's the easy part. Anyone who takes coaching of cricket knows that. But the difficult part is that when the ball, the difficult part, there are two aspects to the difficult part. First is the ball when it comes to you, judging that which shot should be taken. Is this a short ball? Then and is this a short ball coming towards my off and leg? Then I would use the pull shot. Is this an overpitched ball coming in my offside? I would leave it, or I might try an off drive. Okay, on my leg, a little overpitched ball, on drive. So this thing, in theory, it looks so easy, but in practice, to be able to do that in balls after balls, that is something which takes practice, right? Same. Knowing the concepts, those 40 concepts is important, right? Okay, but hitting them, hitting runs out of those balls, different types of balls. So therefore, solving questions are balls. Questions are balls. In different kinds of questions, how to apply your knowledge to see which rules would or which concept would fit there is what would come through practice, right? Okay, so practice again happens in multiple levels. One practice is direct question practice. Second practice is when you read and you read consciously, you come across grammatically correct sentence again and again. So your mind registers those, and that also becomes a point where you prepare yourself for the future, where you would be able to answer questions based on those concepts, because you have gone through thousands and thousands of correct sentences. Give me a point, right? That's important. So how to apply those rules in question? This is the way to apply those rules in question. Practice and reading a lot. So reading a lot and practicing questions would help you, definitely. There is another issue that comes in applying of concepts in the questions, right? Is that when you study something with respect to noun, then you understand that, okay, if there is a noun error, you will have to do this. If there is a verb error, you will have to do this. But the problem is, when there is a sentence in front of you and there can be a noun error or a verb error or a preposition error, you really cannot decide which one to how to check on, right? That's another problem that comes, and that's why we did the mother rule. The mother rule is a way where we check, go through the sentence in once or twice, we identify what kind of mistake that can have from the various parts of speech, right? So if you are comfortable with mother rule, you know what to do. If you are not comfortable with mother rule, then what you should try is bring a technique or develop a technique of yours in which you can use your knowledge, collated knowledge at one point at one time. Then only you will be able to identify errors from a sentence, right? Okay, so those are the two things that happens in application, and I gave you the answer to both of it. Then comes how to improve accuracy in grammar. Obviously, if you do all the above, your accuracy would improve in grammar. Having said that, practice is important, reading is important, no doubt about it. But having said that, there is another aspect to accuracy of grammar that we tend to ignore. And that is that, common sense, logic. We tend to subvert logic and common sense when we do grammar question. We tend to think that English language is outside the realm of logic. Logic ki duniya se bahar hai. We tend to think that. But that's not the case. Logic and common sense is as much applicable in English and grammar as much as it is in quant or other topics. Yes, understandably, there are some areas in grammar where there are conventions set. For example, preposition. There are some conventions set in preposition. Phrasal verb. There are some conventions set in phrasal verb. But in most areas, grammar is not based out of convention but out of hardcore logic. Subject verb agreement, logic, tense, logic, noun errors, logic, pronoun errors, logic. You see, na? Right? Then you have modifier errors, logic, parallelism error, logic. So, all of these errors are based out of logic, common sense. So, if you have your common sense open, your logic open, you would see that your accuracy in grammar has increased a lot. Okay. So, that is there. Achha, there was this issue that I shared with you at the starting, that some people see that, if they have an instinct, right? So, they think that they mark something on instinct and they get it correct. But whenever they start thinking, they get it wrong, right? And that is where the next question comes, the next issue comes. Should we be using instinct, or should we not use instinct at all? Right. Now, it's related to accuracy, obviously, and that's why I said that it's the spin-off to the last 4. Now, when I look at instinct, what do we understand by instinct? Instinct means that what you feel like, right? Let me tell you. I have told it earlier also, and I will repeat it here also. Sometimes a bowler also comes on the crease and scores a century. Sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes that also happens. He plays by instinct. In that match, in every match, he plays by instinct. He just picks up his bat, he ghumaus his bat. If the ball gets stuck and it's a lucky day, he gets scored. If it's not a lucky day, he does not get scored. Okay. Instinct, raw instinct. Some people have better raw instinct, so they would be better at the averages. But nonetheless, as much as your instincts are, you would never be, or that bowler would never be as good as Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma or a Sachin Tendulkar. Right? Why? Are Virat Kohli's and Rohit Sharma's not playing with instinct? No, they also play with instinct. But their instinct, in batting I am saying, in batting, their instinct has a background support of their conceptual knowledge of batting, their practice of batting. So, they have an enhanced instinct. They also use instinct to hit a shot, right? They also improvise. But their instinct is of a higher level than an instinct of a bowler who is playing only on instinct without the backing of that conceptual background of batting, the practice in batting. So, yes, you will use instinct, but after learning the concepts of grammar, applying the concepts of grammar, when your instincts have also enhanced, then you would use instincts too. And you will not have to consciously use instinct. Your instinct will automatically come. Instinct is something that you do not consciously use. But then you would say that, sir, what about those questions? When I see the question at first and I see that option B should be the answer, but then I start thinking and I do not mark B and I mark C, then I get wrong because B is the answer. What would you say about that? That is not because your instinct is helping you to find the right answer. Your instinct is helping you to find the right answer. But the next part, what you're thinking is that your logic is helping you to find the wrong answer. But that's not the case. A lot of time what happens is that our logic and instinct works together. In tandem, they find out the answer very fast. But then you get a doubt. Arey, how can I get an answer in 5 seconds? I am not so good at grammar. How can I get a grammar question correct in 5 seconds? You doubt yourself. And from that self-doubt comes your ability to rationalize another answer as a correct answer. And that is why you get wrong. Just go back and see. Most of the time you would see the process by which you arrive to that answer B was not purely instinct. That had a logical base also. Yes, that was very fast that it seemed like instinct, but it had a logical base. That logical base might be your reading also. You have read a lot of material, and from that you have an instinctive idea of what is correct grammar. That might also be true. But plus with that, if your grammar concepts comes into play, you are a superhero. But the point here that I'm trying to make is that what normally people do is that they deify instinct. Deify samajhte ho? They make instinct their god and they demonize logic. They say, jab bhi logic lagata hu grammar mein, I get it wrong. Don't do that. Because when through instinct you are getting the question correct in very less time, you start self-doubting. That's what happens in most of the cases. And when you start self-doubting, you end up making another option and answer just because you doubted yourself. So don't let that happen. Over a period of time, your instinct and logic would find a way to coexist and you would become a superhero, super accurate, super fast in grammar question, a person who is super accurate, super fast in grammar questions. Okay, right? Okay. So the last issue now, that was not an issue, I added it. What else would help in grammar? What else would help in grammar is reading. Reading would help a lot in grammar. Apart from grammar practice questions, apart from going through the concept once and twice, reading would help you. Reading is one job that would help you a lot. Watching English movies, series would not help much because there a lot of grammatical mistakes come as a part of slang. You know, there are a lot of usages that are part of slang, right? So if you think that watching a lot of web series would make you good at English grammar, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen as such, right? Yes, you get good at spoken English. No doubt about it. Your ability to understand English would increase a lot. But if you want to improve your grammar, reading is something that you cannot leave. And read diverse. As I have told you in my lecture where I have discussed the book list, there also I asserted on the fact that you should be reading on diverse topics. Right? Read diverse. Okay? Right? So that would be all for today. Hope that this particular lecture helps you in planning your grammar journey in a better way and answering those error spotting, error correction and the sentence synthesis questions in a better way. Yes, obviously I'll come with sessions where we'll be discussing questions, but then discussing questions would not mean much if our basic philosophy is disturbed. This is basic philosophy. What we discussed today is basic philosophy. If you can work on it, you would ensure that you are performing to your best of the capabilities. Rest obviously is in the hands of yours, how good your capability is, but to the best of your capability, you will be able to do that. Okay? Okay. So that would be all for today. Thank you very much and all the best for all the upcoming exams. Bye-bye.